Hello, people. As usual, it's your boy Ambassador again doing this thing. I just like to talk about these issues because I'm passionate about everything African and Pan Africanist. I just want us to start thinking this direction. I usually quote Tupac saying that, okay, he might not bring the change, but he might say some of the things that would spark the change. So that's the intention of these videos. Today, I just titled this Africa is not a poor country.
What is the poorest country in the world?
Africa.
What is the poorest country in the world?
Africa.
What is the poorest country in the world?
Africa.
It's funny because I know Africa is not a country, but I decided to use that code because when you are traveling around the world in America and in Europe, even Asia, people refer to Africa as if we are a country, as if we are a monolith. Is that the word? We are one group. But Africa is so many countries, so many geographical landscapes, so many cultures, so many languages. So you can only refer to us as one. We are one people as Africans, but putting us in one box is not really an accurate reflection for us. So, first, I'm just trying to address the narrative when it comes to Africa. I've addressed some of these things of we have lions on the street, we live on trees. I don't want to go back to that, but also just the aspect of referring to Africa as one bunch is not accurate. So, Africa is not a country. Africa is not that poor. We are rich in so many things which are not quantified in terms of your dollars and your euro. But we have so many social and cultural things which are valuable to us but are not monified. Also, excuse me, Africa is not a country and Africa is not that poor. I always tell people that when they use the parameter of measurement being, how do we call it, living above the dollar, that's because to you, your system has been quantified to the dollar. We have so many other things, valuable things in our society, which are not monetized and are not ranked by the dollar, which if you are just using your questionnaire to rank us by the dollar, you might be missing out on certain things. So that's why I said it's true, people are suffering in Africa. But going by that parameter of above the dollar or below the dollar is not very accurate. When most of the social studies we carry out, they say, okay, people living below the dollar standard or above the dollar standard. I think we should, especially for Africa, we should revisit some of those questionnaires and then look at what it means to live above the dollar mark. Also, I think that there is this arrogance, which arrogance slash ignorance, which foreign powers or investors come to Africa where people might say, okay, one, the right projects to come and solve African problems without understanding the context of the problem. Two, they tell us what to do as Africans, which I feel like is arrogance and ignorance. Three, they come on the assumption that they know what we want. I remember we're having this conversation where we're carrying out some projects in the East and we're working with the Pygmies. And then after we have discussed on the various things we want to do in the Pygmies communities, somebody just asked us like, but everything we have said is very good, but are we sure that the Pygmies want these things? Do they need these things? We want to better their living standards. Is that their, I'm trying to say, parameter of better? Is that their unit of measurement? What we are using, like maybe living standards. At times in we have what we call proxy indicators like roofing system, flushing toilet as a measurement of your standard of living. But you might still give a pygmy 1 million francs and he does not want to stay in the flushing toilet. I remember we had meetings where you invite pygmies to hotels and they say they will not sleep inside the hotel, they will rather sleep outside on the veranda or on the yard. Because they said, oh, what did they say? Is it that the wind is making too much noise when it's blowing on the roof or something like that? So there are certain things which for them, even if you give them money, that's not what they use as their quality of life. So we have to revisit some of these standards when it comes to evaluating Africa. I am not refusing the fact that Africa is poor on certain things. Everywhere in the world we have poor people. Africa might have more poor people, which I even agree. But I just feel like in trying to improve the standards of Africans, our unit of measurement of what is poor might be very erroneous and might be misleading if we don't reevaluate what poverty means for Africa. As usual, like, share, subscribe. It's your boy Ambassador Mark.
Just my opinion.